Thanks for tuning in to Thurston County Connection, a production of Thurston County and Thurston Community Media. I'm Deborah Vinsel. On this special edition of Thurston County Connection, we're featuring a discussion with all three members of the Thurston County Board of Commissioners. With me is Chair Bud Blake from District 3, Vice Chair John Hutchings from District 1, and Commissioner Gary Edwards from District 2. The commissioners have received questions from their constituents asking how they interact together as a team, and they wanted to give you an opportunity to see what their relationships look like and get an inside view to their individual personalities. There will be no official business taking place during today's program, but the commissioners do invite you to attend their board meetings held on Tuesday afternoons at 2 p.m. in room 280 of Building 1 at the Courthouse Complex to see your government in action. You can also view the county master calendar of events to see when other business meetings may be of interest. And of course, if you can't attend the meeting, you can always watch the meetings here on Thurston Community Media Channel 3. So gentlemen, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules. And I mean, we were thrilled that we could get all three of you in one place at the same time. We're going to start with kind of a little icebreaker. Sure. Give us a little insight to your personalities. So, and since you're the chair, I'll start with you, Commissioner Blake. If you could be a character in a movie, who would you be and why?
A character in a movie. I really don't watch a lot of movies per se, but I watch, one thing about me you should know is that I love watching a series of movies, you might say. And so one of my favorite characters has been Ragnar in the history of the Vikings. And so it's a series of how the Vikings left out of their area to conquer the rest of the part of Europe and England in particular, and then went into France. But I just really was inspired by Ragnar's ability to take care of the people that he was in charge as he rose to the top, and at the same time have a vision, although unfortunately conquering lands back then is the theme of the time, but here is just taking care of being visionary and seeing, using technologies to his advantage, new innovations as far as social issues, and even back then, just really a good character that I could relate to, and so I'd say Ragnar. Yeah. Ragnar. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Hutchings, character in a movie, who would you be? Or we'll say or a television series maybe. Yeah. Who would you be and why?
I'm going to pick somebody else.
No, well, and I'm going to break the rules right now because I'm going to give you three, but they're all similar because one would either be Paladin or Bat Masterson or Clint Eastwood from one of the older spaghetti westerns. And that is because they're always the good guys. They're protecting the weak and the innocent and those that need to be represented and to be taken care of. And they always win in the end. But I'll take that a step further because in The Unforgiven, later in Clint Eastwood's life, he had a heart. And that movie gives you goosebumps. It's a wonderful movie with a lot of self-conscious type stuff. Not self-conscious, but self-awareness that is brought to the forefront in that movie. Okay. And there's good morals to the stories.
Clint Eastwood fan. Okay. Commissioner Edwards, who would you be and why?
Well, I guess I'd have to say I sometimes feel like John Wayne in the True Grit movie. And the reason I say that is it's quite a challenge to take on the bureaucracy. And I feel I'm out there trying to take on the bureaucracy for all of our constituents in Thurston County. So it's quite a battle, and hopefully we win. I don't know if we always win, like my counterpart said here, but hopefully we win.
Okay, so now that you've shared your favorite characters, I can understand a little bit more about you, but let's talk about who you really are. So Gary, we'll start with you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
You know, I don't know if you're picking on me because I'm the oldest one out of the group here.
No, you're just the closest one here.
Oh, closest
so that's
one.
What it is,
okay.
Right, so.
Anyway, well, I've been here the longest though, so I should be the oldest. So my family's been here since the mid-1800s, and we've always been involved in our community. My wife is on the school board out at Yelm and has been for 32 years. And I guess my past history, you know, I was a law enforcement officer for about 40 years, 20 of those here as the elected county sheriff. And I just thought that I could add a little bit to the process yet taking on this new role as a county commissioner. So I've got family here. I've got 9 grandkids, kids scattered around. Some live here, some live elsewhere. And I just think Thurston County is a great place to be and live. And
You
that's
got
why,
really
that's
deep
why
roots
we're
here.
Yeah.
Really deep
Really
roots
deep
here.
roots.
Really deep roots here.
That's right. That tree's not going to tip over right away.
Okay, great. Hutch, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a family man. I come from a very large family, very close knit. And my wife and I moved up here to Olympia in 1985 when our kids were 2 and 4 at the time, and now they're well into their 30s with babies of their own. And one lives in Seattle, the other lives in Lacey. My wife and I have been married 42 years this May. So we're very stable. We're a very close-knit family again. That carries on. Did 35 years in public service as a police officer for 3 different agencies. And even on the other side of the badge, off duty, I was giving to the public as well in public service, volunteering on boards and such. And I've said this so many times before, but and I really believe it, that I don't take myself seriously, but I take my job seriously. No matter what my line of work has been, I take it very seriously. But what helps me gets through the real tough times is my sense of humor. And I've been through many tough times, as we all have, but that carries me through.
Okay, you nodded, so I'm thinking you've witnessed that sense of humor a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty good.
But you've been on the commission longer than your fellow commissioners, obviously, so.
2 years,
But
yeah.
I don't know if we've had this conversation with you. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so just to kind of start off, the accent is from Alabama, but I joined the Army as a young man, and I served 25 years. And so in 1993, I decided to ask for a posting out here, and that's where I got to know Fort Lewis. And I fell in love with the Christmas trees, and I said, oh my gosh, this is where they do it, make Christmas trees out here. And so I stayed, if there's another reason for that. In and out of the Northwest in the military for a long time, and then I finally retired in 2013. And I still wanted to serve the country, and I decided I wanted to serve the county and ran for office for the reason that I think Thurston County is the best county in the whole nation, for the very fact that it's, I know people use the word cliches in a cliche way, but it is diversified. I mean, you look at South County compared to North County, you have non-growth versus growth people here, you have liberal to conservative. I like the mixture of people here, and I love being there for them and having that balance of life that brings Thurston County to be the best place. And so I said I had to put my name in the hat and run for office, and here I am 2 years later, and it's been absolutely a joy to be able to serve the people and do the things we do here for our kids and women and men that are out there living a good life. So yeah.
I don't know if I could count probably the number of former military people who've told me that they were stationed at Fort Lewis or at McCord,
Yeah.
or Bangor or
Maybe,
Bellingham
yeah.
or someplace, somewhere in the general area.
Yeah.
And when they exited the service, they came back
Yep.
to Southwest Washington
I was
for,
hooked.
for all of those very same reasons that you just
Sure.
mentioned.
Yeah.
So they are. They're
And
everywhere.
I mean that in a very good way.
Yeah.
So I met hundreds, it seems like, that they come back here, and they're not from here, but once they
But we make it home.
ETS.
So yeah.
Yeah. So gentlemen, this is kind of a question for all of you. Now that we know a little bit more about you as the commission, or as individuals, but as a commission and as individual commissioners, are there specific topics or issues that you really want to focus on in the coming year? We're almost 3 months into the first year, so you've been on the commission for a while. You're new to it, so.
I'll take that in a moment and hand it off to them. So the Board of County Commissioners, it sets the budget for the entire county, be it the latest person hired and their paycheck to all the elected officials, 21 of those, all the departments. So that's really our primary role as far as one can say. And then we do a lot of policy developing, and when that can turn into an ordinance or a resolution. but some of the issues stick out there a little bit more prominent than the others. I particularly I like the public health and social services piece of it right now, although last year was a little different with the law and justice piece there. So it varies from year to year based on our personalities and some of the things we see as far as the need of the public and what they are asking for also. But that's just me right now, and I'll ask them what their two things or what they think is important.
So, gentlemen, any specific topics or issues that you're
I'll leave yours
really want to focus on this year?
Do I go down? No.
No, I'll go. I'm just saying I'll leave your issue to you.
Oh,
I won't take it.
You've each got your own issues,
we can
huh?
talk about. We have some shared issues, I would hope.
Yeah, we do have.
I hope we have
yeah,
shared.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nothing specific.
So how about you, Hutch?
Well, law and justice seems to make sense, but with my criminal justice, or working with the City of Olympia as a police officer and a sergeant there for 27 years, I worked 17 of those years working with the mentally ill and training police officers in how to identify signs and symptoms of mental illness and proper ways to de-escalate short of using force, and then diverting those that suffer from mental illness. And that includes our veterans with traumatic brain injury and PTSD, divert them when appropriate from jail, and feed them back into the mental health system, like Bud was saying, where they're going to get proper help and assistance. And that feeds into the law and justice piece, because there's fewer people in our jail. It reduces overcrowding, or it doesn't exacerbate the overcrowding. Helps the prosecutor and defense and such, and our courts. It helps them considerably as well. And it helps people, and it saves lives. So that's one of my major focuses, but I also really enjoy the mental health piece as well with the behavioral health organization that's really kicked off in our triage center that opened up just last year. I like moving forward in that way and helping the people that are disenfranchised in our community that really need help, which includes the chemically dependent.
So health and mental health and
health and
issues,
safety.
health and safety issues here.
Yes.
I'd just
For
like
both
to
of you.
add that we're thinking about putting up a new department under Public Health and Social Services for child and family wellness and things like that, and have not been truly developed, in addition to how the behavioral health and chemical dependency is or is not working out there. So it's a collaborative effort. There's no particular commissioner that does it. We just kind of have a knack going on. And then, of course, Gary might have a subject there we could talk about.
So Gary?
Well, when you save someone with chemically dependent, you're saving a child. You're saving a family.
Yeah.
So that's critical. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I guess I would like to tout my history, I guess, of being concerned about kids. And the reason is because kids are about 30% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. And so if we're going to provide the services that my seatmates have mentioned, we have to have a proper economic engine running here in Thurston County so we can have resources and revenue come in to provide these type of services, whether they be this end of the spectrum or, say, the criminal justice end of the spectrum. And we need to do both of those things simultaneously. And we need revenue to make that happen. So although I catch a little flack about being a little aggressive about the economic engine part of the picture, because that means cutting back on regulation and allowing businesses to thrive and creating jobs and that type of thing. But we can't protect the environment if we don't have resources to protect the environment, and we can't protect our citizenry if we don't have those resources. So it all kind of goes hand in hand, and I just think that we bring a balance to this whole process through our past experiences and kind of where we're going. There is some frustration in this for me, and I like the public to know this. Well, first of all, you mentioned that we have meetings on Tuesdays, and we do on most Tuesdays, but please check the calendar before you come in, because there are cancellations once in a while, and I would hate to have the public show up automatically and then, well, we're not having a meeting today, we're having a work session, or whatever it might be. So there's issues like that, simple little issues that we can deal with. The scheduling of programs like this is a big concern to me, that we can educate our public and they can see what we're doing on a regular basis by scheduling ahead of time that they know that on Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock they can watch a county commission meeting or a City of Olympia county council meeting or a port meeting. So I think that's a big issue to keep the public educated about where we're at. And I could go on forever, so these guys are going to cut me off.
That's
but
right.
we'll get a chance to talk
Well, we have
about
a few more questions too.
Sure.
So.
Just two
Go
items
ahead.
to add to that.
Sure.
So we hit on a couple of things: law and justice, mental health. But we also do public works is another department of ours that covers the roads and bridges and safety features and traffic lights and that. So that falls underneath us. And the other thing is emergency management, and that kind of gets put to the side, and it doesn't in our day-to-day operations, because you never know when you're going to have a natural disaster or what have you. But those also fall under the county commissioner. So it's a myriad of things all at one time. It's never it's nonstop and always action happenings for us. What we do.
Health department. We're trying
Right.
to keep those
Board
all the
health,
plates
right.
spinning on
Right.
those sticks.
Yeah.
And when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority.
Right.
Yeah,
But it
it's
seems
tough.
everything's a priority.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
so we're dealing with a myriad of issues every day, each day.
That's why you get all those briefings, huh?
Oh, a ton of briefings. And so I find that fascinating, but there's a ton of information coming at us, especially us new guys.
Yeah. And oftentimes what I find frustrating is that because of the Open Meetings Act, which I feel is there for a darn good reason, but because of it, oftentimes we don't get to talk about any issues before we go into a public meeting.
Right.
So we'll have a group there making a presentation, and boy, it's laid out just perfect, and here we are kind of, really?
New to the info.
Yeah,
right.
what, you know, I mean, we get
Right.
reading material
Right.
and some discussion, but not between
Right.
ourselves. We're
Well,
not
and
allowed to
for
talk
our-
about
well,
that.
for our viewers' edifications, because two of you make a quorum.
That's right.
So, which is why at the beginning of the program we said there's no business being conducted today because we have the entire commission here
That's
today.
right.
So,
Yeah.
right. So,
And anytime you see us together, it is usually what we call on our master calendar. So the public can come and kind of keep track of us, you know, hey, are you really talking about business or not? You know.
Right, but we are allowed to talk about grandbabies and all that.
Yeah,
outside things.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there
Ball
are exceptions,
scores,
but
yeah.
we've really tried to stick with that to try to meet the letter of the law for
Yeah,
our
sure.
community.
That's what it's there for. That's
Yep.
right.
cool. So,
Well, along
Go
with
ahead.
that, if I'm cut you off, Deb, some people will use that then, there's 3 commissioners, as an argument, that's why we need 5 commissioners. And there's, that issue alone has several different tentacles attached to it that have to be looked at. So that will come up, I'm sure, sometime in the next 4 years.
Especially 2022.
As based on population, but having 2 makes a quorum, but there's also ways around that with 5.
right,
So there's good and bad.
right. So, you've been on the board now for your 2 years.
2+ years, yeah.
2+ years. And you gentlemen have been serving for just a little
2.5
over
months?
8
2.5
weeks.
months.
9,
2.5
10
months.
weeks,
Oh,
10 weeks.
right, yeah.
So I hazard a guess that you will approach the answer to this next question differently. Has there been something legislatively or some action of the courts that has surprised you in this year? You're new to the job. You've been around for a couple years. So has there been something bubbling under the surface that you kind of went, huh, didn't see that coming? Anything? Who wants to start?
Well, I don't know if we saw it coming or not.
Yeah.
There's several issues that have come up. I mean,
Right.
the most recent thing that we're dealing with that's a concern to a lot of people out there is the Hearst decision.
Yeah.
I knew you'd say
I
that.
would just take it a step further and back it up a little bit. The way that I'll say either the Supreme Court rulings have reached all the way down to the county level, and that's kind of been enough.
State Supreme or federal
Yeah,
Supreme?
I'm so sorry.
State
Yeah, the Washington
Supreme
State Supreme Court. Yeah, absolutely. Without going through a legislative body or some sort of filtering system, if you will, and some of the impacts have been, I mean, all the way down to, you might even say, to the neighborhood and the county or local government being cities. And so I think that's kind of, it can happen. Obviously it did, but it's really unfortunate it has to be that way because you do not have the way to say analyze it and notice the impacts both legally, judiciously, financially, and socially, and they come immediately. And that's what we've kind of been struggling with in a way of putting tearing this apart and putting it back together so it fits for Thurston County, be it the Hutch decision or the stormwater decision or any others like that. I think that's kind of one of the upsetting things of late 2016, 2017. Upsetting in the sense that it has to be that way, and where there's a state body of government and it has not, we think it should play a little bit larger role in that. That's my opinion. They're more than welcome to.
Right. And for our viewers, somebody want to give us a brief explanation of the Hutch decision, what that affects? Because some folks may not know what that is.
Well, it has to
inventory of the water.
Yeah, it's a water issue involving private use wells. Actually, I guess would be the best way I'd put it.
Right.
What do you
Is that pretty
think?
it?
Is
Pretty
it?
much it?
Well,
much it.
in a nutshell, I mean,
Well, that's the
That's like
nutshell.
acorn shit.
That's a little bit.
But as Bud said, it's from the Washington State Supreme Court.
Right.
The decision was handed down minutes before we took office.
That's right.
That'd be like the 29th or so of
it was
December.
29th of December. I
Yeah.
think.
29th of December.
No, I take that back. That was stormwater. 29th of
Oh,
December
yeah,
was
yeah, right.
stormwater.
Yeah, Hutch was October.
It was like October 16th or something
Yeah,
that
yeah,
came out.
yeah,
But we
yeah.
didn't get
So right
noticed
before-
until
yeah.
we...
No,
Right.
not at all.
Moved in,
And
that's
it not
right.
only impacts all the way down to the neighborhood, but now it's a distracting legislature because they're looking at ways, how do we fix this
How do you
thing?
mitigate it?
How do we mitigate it? How do we, because it's not just Thurston County, it's
Right.
statewide.
Oh, it's statewide,
Right.
yeah.
So it impacts a host of neighborhoods and counties with their responsibilities and such. So how do we do that now? When you're still trying to, you still want to protect the water, you want to give people the right to do what they want, what they can within reason on their property, but also protect our environment and then our ordinances and such. That's a ton of work.
I want to just touch on the social part of that because and the reason why I use the word impact, because you're going to have one side of the spectrum say, do it this way, and then you have another clan of people where people say, no, I'm on this side, do it this way. We're trying to figure out where the balance is so that it doesn't have has a equilibrium, if you will, of displacing the problem set. So there's pay or financial aspects of this and how one absorbs it is really what I'm talking about without having those two extremes kind of dictating the way it goes. So that's kind of what we see our role as far as a legislative body, and then if we have to issue any kind of resolutions or ordinance to kind of help mitigate or offset some of that tumultuous aspect of it, that's what we're trying to do right now with it. So,
And it's kind of based on there potentially is a shortage of water, but it's hard to justify that to the public. What, it's rained for about...
I know, 40 days and 40 nights, and we're building an ark.
And then,
Yeah.
then if you go over to Lake St. Clair, and
Yeah.
Lake St. Clair, the water level up in the lake there is like 3 feet higher than their high flood stage, and it's starting to flood homes. They don't have an outlet. There's way too much water coming in from the aquifer, and that lake is like, it's over 100 feet deep. So it is a lot of water. And where is it going? It doesn't have an outlet. The community is very upset that something needs to be done. We're trying to figure that out and work that in amongst things like that Hutch decision. How does it all work? And how much water can you pump? Is that a solution or not a solution? So it becomes very complicated.
Like Buzz said, we're representing not only our district, but the entire county. And so some, when the Hutch decision came down to the stormwater, they're saying, yes. Others are saying, no. And others are saying, well, it doesn't impact me.
Right.
And it
I'm
really,
in the city.
and it really does.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
and, the
Yeah.
nine, and the 9 justices are saying, you have no choice now.
That is the rule of the land.
So we need to figure it
and
out.
there's so much balance in there that I spent 3 hours this morning touring forested areas in the county with some foresters and learning a lot more about foresting, or forestry. And we have to be concerned with the groundwater, what's underneath, but the more trees you have, they're sucking up water from the ground, but you can't rip them all out. And there's rules that are in place already where the state ordinance is different than the county ordinance, different from, and they conflict, and they don't make sense to, if they're barely making sense to me just yet, they really confound the property owner that wants to build a home.
Or a pole shed, for an example. Then we've got, we've got a gopher. That's kind of a timely thing right now. A lot of people are not affected by the gopher. So they say, well, it's not a big deal. Really, it's not that big of a deal. And it's not a big deal if time or money doesn't matter to you. But if you're living in rural America and your dream situation has now been put on hold because of a gopher that, by the way, the Department of Agriculture is spending millions of dollars annually for the last 60 years to eliminate the Mazama pocket gopher. And right up to current, they're still doing it. And the Department of Interior, through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, is spending millions of dollars to protect species like the gopher. Right? And just in Thurston County, now the Mazama pocket gopher lives throughout the Northwest, but yet it's been arbitrarily determined that there's a problem here in Thurston County. And when I say arbitrarily, I've asked, well, how many gophers are enough gophers? Well, there's no answer to that. Well, how many gophers are not enough? No answer. You know, and I say no answer, that they can't respond back with an answer. How many should be on an acre of prairie property or an acre of forest property? Again, no answer. So it's hard for the public to see why the government is interjecting itself into this particular problem when there doesn't seem to be a problem, and another part of government is saying, well, what are you doing here? We're trying to eradicate this.
And you all are stuck in the middle.
And we're stuck in the middle. So those issues, and then we could really be spending money on salmon enhancement and recovery, say in the Puget Sound and the Nisqually River. I mean, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, that we want to clean up the river, we want to clean up Puget Sound, and we've got a cycle of salmon that hatch off there every year, and they go north, and you know what they swim through? They swim through a soup up by Vancouver and Victoria and the Fraser River Canyon. And they live in that soup. I don't know, I bet the public doesn't know that.
Soup you want to eat?
Well,
not good
the
soup.
public probably
It's not good
doesn't
soup.
really realize that they have millions of untreated sewage from Canada, going right into the Strait of Juan de Fuca, into the Puget Sound. Victoria, I'll use as an example, is probably the worst. And millions of gallons every day for the last 100 years. And so each cycle of salmon that either swims through that soup on the way north as a fingerling, or on the way south as an adult salmon, goes up into the Nisqually area, the tributaries, and spawns.
Or the Deschutes.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I'm focusing now on the Nisqually because you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And that new salmon, when it hatches off, every year is a little more contaminated than the last year.
No dirty salmon.
But this conversation actually brings up a question that I have that we have not discussed, so I will just toss it out there. So
Throw it out there.
how much interaction do you as county officials, county elected officials, have with federal agencies, or is there, you know, I mean, because it sounds like there's, you know, there's a need for that, and is there a way for you to communicate effectively with federal agencies that are having an impact on us?
Where do we begin?
Oh my God.
That's going to take the next 30 minutes.
Yeah,
So-
it easily could.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hog the camera here, but it's an issue.
Even before we took office, Gary and I went and met with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife about the gopher issue. And what I found, almost like the Hearst decision, there are people in the county that are saying with regard to the Endangered Species Act and the pocket gopher, they're saying yes. Others are saying no. This is crazy. But what it has done is effectively pitted people against the government against local government, against the federal government.
Against business.
And we're put on the defense. And just like in any sports, defense, you're never off duty when you're on defense. So we're trying to defend the people in our county, and we're trying to defend ourselves against the federal government. And they have us on the defense, almost with a gun to our head.
Yeah.
I think it's more than a big hammer.
Yeah.
And we're trying to sort this stuff out. And in the meantime, our members of our community, they still want to build a house, and it's costing, they're taking a year, 2 years, 3 years, and costing them extra tens of thousands of dollars. And they're looking to us, fix it. And we're doing our best to work on this issue, but it's so convoluted.
I have to expand on this just a little bit.
Just a little
I'll
bit.
use the school out at Yelm. The Yelm area is expanding tremendously. We only have one access to the Yelm High School. there's going to be 2,000 kids going to school there, and we've got one access off the main highway coming through Yelm. And because of safety concerns, they're worried about all the activity going in and out. They've actually have kids, because we go to school in the dark, you know, winter time, we get there early, raining, walking, whatever it is. We've had kids hit in the ingress-egress part of the Yelm High School campus. And so they're trying to put a back road in to get away from that dangerous traffic, and they're caught right in the middle of the whole gopher deal because they have to come through a little stretch of gopher property. And what? So now the gophers become more important than the kids when it comes right down to it. Not only in dollars spent, but in safety. So how do you balance that out? To me, it's all about the kids. Remember what I said about 30% of the population, but 100% of our future. We can never do enough for the kids.
So shall we move on, or do we want to?
Oh, I mean, I could go on for move on. Yeah, I can go on forever. I mean, there are a lot of topics to cover here, you know.
About this. So, well, this next one though is for the two of you, for our two newest commissioners. And is there anything about your role as a commissioner that was a surprise to you, or that was, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I think you kind of know. I think you kind of know what you're getting into when you toss your hat into the ring. But there's a lot to be said for sitting behind the desk and going, oh, so what was the biggest surprise?
You know, for me, right off the bat, because I seem to jump in there all the time, I have a newfound respect for all those individuals that have held this position prior to us getting
Well put. Absolutely well put. Yep.
To include me?
Well, to include you, sir. Yes, probably you as well.
Former commissioners.
And here I thought I knew a little bit about
future.
government because I've been involved in government. You know, Hutch and Bud, everybody's been involved in government to a degree, but there's a lot of moving parts in this government. And we're trying to untangle it and make it all work and mesh it together and figure it out. And so those people that have held this position, whether or not you agreed with their particular philosophy or policies, that has nothing to do with it. They were dealing with a pretty complicated, complex situation.
Yeah, well put. What surprised me is how busy I really am, and combine that with how sedentary I am, sitting most of the day. And I'm somewhat frustrated. I don't have sufficient time to go out and meet with constituents in my district. And I'm now just setting up, as of yesterday, setting up times and dates and locations for coffee chats, so I can get out and do and meet with the people. They can come have a cup of coffee. We can chat, or we can do it at like Don Juan's in Tenino and call it Guac Talk. I don't care, but I'm looking forward to getting out of the office and pounding the pavement and talk with people, and not talk with, but listen to people, listen to what they have to say. But I'm also impressed with, but also surprised with the amount of time I've spent with the legislature, lobbying for bills, testifying on bills, and I thought, well, this is kind of fun. And then it became more fun, and I'm really realizing how critically important it is for elected officials to meet, greet, and network with the state lawmakers. I mean, this is really key. It's exceptionally key. And this guy, Bud, is all over this like a rat on a Cheeto. He is up there, and it garners. I got that. Isn't that a Southern thing? Or a gopher on a Cheeto. But testifying and working with our legislators, senators, and representatives is fascinating. And I didn't know I'd be doing that amount that I have been. But of course, we're in session. It'll stop.
Right.
Eventually it'll stop. It won't stop on time, but it'll stop somewhere, but I don't know where. No, but I find that very refreshing and fun.
I think a lot of folks that I've had conversations with who are not elected officials, but we have an incredibly engaged population here. They're civically and politically engaged.
We do.
Which I find fascinating and enjoyable. But everybody has their own issue, and so they go to a city council meeting or to a county board meeting because they have an issue and they want you to deal with it. And I think sometimes don't recognize that the issue that to them may be very simple, may seem like something that could be fixed with a simple solution, is usually a tiny piece of a much larger, much more complex situation. So it's,
Yes.
you know.
Remember the bureaucracy I'm fighting?
Right.
I would just add to your question there, them coming on board has been, they're at the right spot where they're supposed to be. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 months to kind of really feel yourself in your own skin to be able to get that equal, that balance, that rhythm that you're looking for. And I've watched them, just as it was for me, learn how the public process is critically important and how you have to wait on that. And for we three, we're type A's, we want to get it done right then and now, and it's a learning process to be patient and virtue in our delivery, and make sure the public's involved, and make sure there's we're on a legal track that doesn't get us another lawsuit or whatever, and make sure it doesn't financially impact us in some way. So when you put all that together, where the jobs we used to have, we would make our decision cycle would be a little bit smaller, and we could do things maybe in hours to minutes.
Yeah.
And now we have to make sure that we are patient with that system as a whole.
Why don't you comment a little bit about your rule, because you're the boss up there, you're the county chair.
I don't know what rule
I do.
It's not the rat and Cheeto rule, is it?
Not making a decision
at
the time, at the same day that we're debating a particular issue or taking testimony. Gives people time to comment, gives us time to think about what type of a process we're going to put together to deal with whatever particular situation we're dealing with. And it's that type of thing that experience really helps us.
And the bottom line up front also, right?
Yeah.
The bluff.
Bottom line up front.
And I think also, I mean, in keeping with what you said earlier about, you know, just hearing information sometimes for the first time.
Yes, that's right.
You know, in a public meeting, and you know, then being able to.
Especially maybe you knew a little bit about what was coming because you had some reading material, but somebody comes up with a completely different perspective. Well, did you think about this, or this is the way it affects me or my loved one or whomever, you know? So you have to reevaluate and think about, well, how does that all fit? How can we make that work for the most, you know, because we are a democracy. We're trying to reach that middle ground.
Bud brought up an excellent point, and I don't want it to be missed, that with his military experience and with our law enforcement experience, me and Gary, we're used to seeing an issue or a problem crop up, and boy, here's the resolution, and you attack the problem, and it's fixed, you move on to the next problem. And that's been our routine for 30 plus years. So now we have a problem that comes to us, and we come up with resolutions. It takes us a while sometimes, but then we want to implement, and it's like we're running through water because the process kicks in. Now the process has to be respected, and it's there for a reason, and we appreciate that. You got to have public comment, you have to have review, you have to have legal look at it and such, and it goes on, and then draft and then redraft. But I find that kind of confounding because I'm used to 1, 2, 3, move on to the next problem, 1, 2, 3, and it's not that way at all in government.
Right. And once you come to a consensus on something, it could be weeks or months before.
Yes,
you see, or longer even
that's right,
before
because
you see,
we have to go through the process.
Because you see before you see the outcome.
And I really think that is so frustrating to the public because they don't have a good understanding. You know, most of them have never had anything to do with the government process until the process got in the way of their life. And then it becomes the most important thing in their life is the situation that they're dealing with and that they expect a resolution in a timely fashion. And that goes back to kind of the John Wayne thing about the bureaucracy, you know, and how do we handle that and try to serve the public. I think no matter where we're coming from, if you're coming from liberal or conservative, most times we're trying to reach a position that is acceptable and kind of middle of the road.
For everybody.
And that's
equitable.
The balance. We're looking for balance there.
So we've heard a little bit about what, you know, your first couple of weeks on the job has been like, or what kind of surprised you. You are the senior member of the commission.
He's the old guy.
Not by age.
No, as the chairman of the board. You want to share with us a little bit about how you feel about helping your new commissioners, as you said, kind of get into their skin, you know, as you can feel their jobs and transition into these positions. How do you perceive your role there?
Yeah, as the incumbent, and what I've seen changes or things that I think are coming over the horizon, it's really been a blessing to have them there. But at the same time, to show them how the departmentals work for us, that being the resource stewardship to emergency management, public works, public health and social services. These are all the tools in our tool bags that we need to know how to use better and efficiently and effectively. And so to be the chair is really to say, think about that for a little bit, but don't forget they're all interconnected. And you can't lose sight of that. And when you're making a decision on monies or policy or what have you, and then throw in the other electives because it impacts their roles too, especially say in the law and justice, just how critical and important it is for a public health and social service to be tied to that on a regular basis. And so while they know that, now they're in the midst of growing and learning and do that. It's really to be able to encapsulate those nuances. I get it down to nuance management so they can make the best decisions for individually and collectively as a commission. And it's been a fun time doing it for the last 3 months, being able to show them those kinds of attributes we have for the county.
So you're the coach.
Yeah.
I have to comment on that.
Oh my God.
About whether it's been a fun time or, yeah.
I am utterly bowled over at how not only intelligent but strategic Bud is.
Oh my God.
See, I told you put your hands over your ears.
And
And by that I mean, here we are learning how, Gary and I are learning how to play chess, and this man's doing three-dimensional chess. He's playing on levels that I didn't even know existed.
I'm not sure that I'm not playing checkers.
But it is an eye-opener when I look at, can we do this, and if we do that? And Bud says, look at these pictures, look at the other departments, what's coming down the road, what's coming through the legislature, what the courts are working on. He is ready, relevant, and engaged, and we're trying to get up to speed as quickly as we can. And not only is he a great mentor, but boy, he's the perfect chair to keep things going and orchestrated.
Yeah.
Now, but I have a question for you. Can I ask him a question, or is it just you?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Are these briefings? Are the
Help
briefings going to slow down?
The briefing's going to slow down.
We're just getting warmed up. You're in the dugout. And you're in the warm up pit.
Slow down. Okay. Slow down as in the number that you have to go through, or as in the amount of time you have for them.
No, because it's like
all the above.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are our briefing days, and
right.
people need to know where we're going as far as guidance and our decisions.
Right.
So that's locked in. Tuesdays are the BOCC. So we can take a Monday or a Friday and do something with it, but people need to have that interaction with the commission in order to do the service, and so yeah.
Cool.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So we've got a few minutes left, and I do want to just give you all an opportunity to just talk to the citizens. Is there anything in particular you want to tell the citizens of Thurston County? I'll let you go last because you're
the chair.
You're the chair. So.
Hey.
Why don't we start with Hutch this time? Okay, we'll let Hutch. Oh no, well, or
Am
not.
I talking to you or a camera?
You can talk to me.
Okay.
You can talk to the camera.
Then you
but
tell
just,
the citizens.
All right, just listen up. Okay, listen up. So.
I'm coming. I will be out in the community. Check the county website. Check the master calendar. Check my Facebook page, and you'll see when and where I'm going to be out in the community. I thank the community, I'm bowled over that I'm here. I'm still exceptionally grateful that I'm here. And I hope, hope's not it's not an option.
Hope is not a method.
It's not a method. I really believe that I'm going to treat them, how do I say this? I'm not going to disappoint them, let's say that. I'm not going to disappoint. I'm rising to the occasion to represent this district in an exceptional way that will make them proud. But I need to get out on the street and I need to engage more. I receive emails. Email me if you wish, and you get that from the county website as well. And I take action. At least I can do some of that. I can start putting the things in works. But I also get a lot of attaboys and thank yous and appreciative emails, and those go a long way. They go a long way.
You mentioned earlier you were scheduling coffee talks with folks, or chip chats, or guacamole, whatever.
Guacamole.
So how often do you think you're going to do those, and when do you think the first one might be?
I'm glad you asked. I'm looking for the first one to be sometime in April, mid to late, and then I'd probably do maybe 2 or 3 in a day, and at least as often as I can. You know, like when you have a party and you're hoping people show up. I don't know how well received it's going to be or overwhelming. It'll be in the morning and in the afternoon, so people can schedule around that. But it's going to be mid to late April for the first one, but it'll be well advertised.
Okay, great. Welcome to the commission and to the County Connection. We love having
Thank you,
here.
Deb. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Edwards, how about you?
I guess if I had to talk directly to the community, I would say that this wasn't part of my retirement plan, having retired from being the sheriff. But, you know, I got drafted as a young man in the 60s by the United States Army because of an unpopular situation. Well, I got drafted again by the community to run for this position because those folks saw a need. And so I'm not looking to enhance my resume or move on to new positions or anything like that. I'm here strictly to get the job done. And what is that job? The job is probably changing direction for the county a bit, getting back to the real economics so we can provide all of the other services that we do need to provide, protect the environment. Let's focus on something that really needs to be focused on, and I use salmon and the Nisqually and the Puget Sound as that example, because I don't want to see three-eyed salmon before long. I don't see a real need on the gopher. I don't understand why we're going there. So I'm actually an environmentalist, but I'm a realist. And so I would hope that the county residents would know that we're looking for balance. And I say that for the three of us. We want to create that situation that is ideal. We're probably never going to live in utopia, but we want to get as close as we possibly can. My phone number's been in the phone book, and I know young people don't even know what a phone book is, you know, but it's still in the phone book.
You can Google it.
It's been there like, you know, 40-some years, and I welcome those contacts if it's an emergent situation. Otherwise, get a hold of us. I would encourage folks to come up and participate, and if they've got an issue or a concern, we've got that public comment time at our meetings. I think that is very valuable for the public to come, let us know what their particular issues are. Don't just stew about it and you know, not come forward and let us know about it. And I think that personal attention to the situation is really beneficial to us making proper decisions. So I'm looking forward to working with the public, and hopefully we'll see more of you.
Okay, me too.
I'd like to have Bud think about his answer a little bit longer.
Okay.
So can I just make a comment and add to what Gary just said?
Sure.
Because you talked about meetings, I talked about getting out in the community, but the BOCC meetings and public comment. We've received emails, and on the campaign trail last year, I received a lot of people questioning, how come you're 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday? We can't get there to comment. We can't get there to hear the hearings and be a part of this. Why don't you do them after 5? And I've been told it's been tried in the past, and in the past, people wouldn't show up. Not very, when they're held after 5 o'clock, people don't show up. And also, people need to realize it's not just the three of us sitting there. There's a host of staff. And now you're asking all your staff, hey, when you're done with your day, hang over for another about 2 or 3 hours. And so we're trying to be respectful of the staff time, but also going on past practice. If people aren't showing up, now we get a fair amount of people show up at 2, which is productive, but I know not everybody can make it, so we're sensitive to that, and we're still talking about ways to mitigate that.
Yeah, okay.
You better be ready now.
I'll just kind of go off of their two themes. They're public engagement and it's more involved with people, but policy and procedures. I would just say to the people of Thurston County that get involved in the government that you have, be it city or county government, obviously state government. It is part of our lives, and for those who, there are junkies out there that do it, and then there's some that kind of want to do it sometimes and some that don't want to do it at all the time. But if you stop and think about it, it really does form the policies and governance that helps to keep a balance of whatever is going on, be it economy, social issues, cultural issues, health issues, and we absolutely do love having engagement, be it internet, email, face-to-face. We try our best to get out from behind that desk and get out there and see people. I love it. I love every part of the county here. But I would invite people to come in and, like Gary said, either testify or office call or coffees or town halls. All those are super important, and I think that's really the best thing we can do is make sure that we are connected. If we ever lose that connection with the people, then we need to move on to do something else. And you won't see that here because we love getting out and doing things. So, yeah.
You mentioned office calls, so.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, a lot of our viewers may not know that you guys are full-time elected officials.
Yep.
So
40
and
hours or more.
I know it's more than 40.
Yeah,
I have watched over the last
it's
26
way
years.
more
It's
than
more than
40.
40. So for an office call, they just call the courthouse and make an appointment.
Sure, with our assistant or the front desk. Yeah.
Are there specific hours that you set aside for office calls in particular, or is it just whatever's available on your calendar?
Actually, no, because we try to be as convenient to the public as we can. So it's oftentimes that you're going to, like, I'm going to a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock over at Lake St. Clair because the folks at Lake St. Clair are having a terrible problem to deal with. I mean,
And
when you've got several hundred homes that are potentially flooding, that's a major situation to a lot of people. And so I feel obligated that I need to go where the problems are oftentimes. So if a citizen calls and they want to come and we can squeeze them in between meetings at the office and it's convenient for them, or we can set something up at a different time and date, but we try to reach as many people as we possibly can.
Okay.
Mondays and Fridays are the best time for me.
It's good.
However, like I spent 3 hours this morning with 2 constituents and touring around the forestry area. But Kelly Kennedy, my assistant, is phenomenal. She is amazing. And I'll look at my calendar day to day and think, how'd she squeeze somebody in there? But she squeezed somebody in for 30 minutes, and I will be able to chat with someone for a good 30 minutes in and around our other meetings and other briefings, and it's just ping, 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 ping. I feel like a pachinko ball, you know, running down the thing, because it's going constantly. It's constantly like moving parts, and I love it. And some of these people are happy. Some of the things we share are very touching, and some people are very angry, very frustrated, I should say, very frustrated. And it's dynamic, very dynamic.
Could I just squeeze in one more thing on that?
Sure.
My assistant, Vicki Larkin, has been there a long time. And one thing she relayed to me, especially being a new person coming in, is how oftentimes they're faced with dealing with irate citizens. And so I would certainly ask those folks that do interact with us to try and recognize that staff is dealing with a very complicated situation in most cases. And don't be hostile to the staff if you can help it. Try to treat them as you would like to be treated in a like situation, I guess.
Take it out on us, but leave our staff, treat them with respect.
Shout out to the administrative staff. I've worked with all of them at some point, and they are phenomenal.
Sherry is phenomenal.
Sherry, okay.
She is fantastic.
So we have Sherry and Kelly and Vicki, the assistants for the commissioners, and
they're actually the boss of the situation.
They keep your calendars.
Our
so
handlers.
They know what's going on.
They are our handlers.
Well, gentlemen, we're about out of time,
Thank you
and
so
so I
much
just want
for
to
this.
thank you all for. Well, and I want to thank your administrative assistants for finding
Making this happen.
making this hole in your schedule, and making this happen. So, look forward to working with all of you as the year continues and on future programs. So thank you for all being here.
Yeah, we love
It will
what
be
you do.
fun.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all we have right now for this edition of Thurston County Connection. We hope you now have a better idea of the direction Thurston County government is headed and know a little bit more about your county commissioners. Join us each month for a different episode of Thurston County Connection to find out what's happening in your community. I'm your host for all of us here at Thurston Community Media. Thanks for watching.